Are you a reader, Jimmy?
Strange enough, I do read, probably mainly in the holidays.
Yeah.
Only about, if I'm lucky, probably read about 6 books.
Right.
I'm more the other way around now.
Yeah.
For relaxation, I write books. And I've written now, I think the last count, 17 books. If you go on my website,
right.
I've written books on every topic. Sometimes it's to sort out my own thinking, understand what's going on. Others, it's just an idea I get in my head and decide to write a book. Because, as I said, this business is not particularly intellectually challenging. It's just fairly tedious. Well, I find it quite interesting writing down books. They're all about HMOs. I haven't written anything other than books on HMOs. I did try and write a novel about a court case I had.
Yeah.
Started it and then handed it to the typist who mucked it all up, and I lost interest in it. So it's stuck in a corner, half written, never really got finished. But most of the stuff I do. So if you want to learn about HMOs and know what I know, I just write books on it.
I mean, I think I probably know the answer to the next question. What is your most gifted book that you give to other people? So it's not, it would be one of your own books.
No, the book I probably give to other people
or recommend
is The Midas Touch by James Goldsmith. It's the book that sort of unlocked something in my head that realised you could just go ahead and do it. I mean, going back to when I was talking about, it's about the time I read James's book that I came across Streetwise and said you can go and borrow all this money on credit cards. And it just broke out of the little box I'd been living in, and my wife had tried to push me in. I just stay at home and all the rest of it, and that worked. So anyone who comes on my courses, mentorships, I give them a copy of James Goldsmith's book, The Midas Touch.
Right.
And I'm sure the others, it's because I read it first off, but people like Tony Robbins are awesome. Live Yourself, Life to Potential. T. Harvey Eker is another great one. And Andy Harrington helps people break through their barriers and achieve what they want to succeed.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. So, a bit of a weird question. So, if you had a spirit animal, so basically you had an animal, what would that be? Your spirit animal.
My spirit animal.
So basically, you get an animal representing you. What would that be? Lion, panther, cheetah, or what?
Kind of animal represents me? I've never been asked that question.
I know, that's why it's a bit weird question.
You catch me on the wind. What kind of animal represents me? I don't know. I think you're going to have a multi-headed animal with that one. A dog who's loyal. A cat. A lot of independence. There's no animal that comes to mind to say I'm a lion. I'm not fearless by any means. It's a difficult one. I have to go to sleep on that one.
Yeah, you get back to this. So I studied success and successful people. What do you think of when somebody mentions the word successful? As in person or company. Who do you think of that?
Yeah, we all have this idea if you make a lot of money, you're successful. And I don't think that's going to make much difference at the end of your life when you look back to success. It's nice, but money brings its problems. And you end up like I am. Sometimes I feel I'm trapped into this whole business. And if I sold up and released all the cash, I'd be bored out of my skull because you're on a treadmill of moving forward. It's relationships that matter.
Personal or business?
Personal. Well, business, people, friends, relationships that make the difference. And if I was to look back on my life, I'd probably sort of sum it up. I wish I'd loved more.
So also, as I said, studying success, and people have a lot of morning routines. Have you got a morning routine that you follow regardless before you get to work?
No, I'm not a particularly routine person. I had children late in life. They came as a bit of a surprise. Don't know how they turned up. And I do the parent bit, take them to bed, read them a bedtime story. And God, I tell you, the bedtime stories are written. I'd be asleep within about 10 minutes off that. So I started going to bed at 9 o'clock at night, or 8 o'clock, or
No.
9 o'clock at night, and still do. My preferred time to go to bed is about 9 a.m. But the problem with that is you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Wide awake. Because if you stay up late, what do? You eat, you drink, and you wake up at 8 o'clock with a headache and grumpy. Well, I wake up at 3 o'clock fresh, and that's why I started writing books, thinking, so my routine, I feel far better if I wake up at 3, and by 8 o'clock I've done probably 5 hours work. I feel I've achieved something, thought things through, clarified my mind, and then when I get to work it's just interruptions, doing this, doing that.
But you've done your work already.
I've felt I've done something, progressed, thought stuff through, and then the rest of the day tends to be more interactive.
Okay. Say if there was a big advertising board outside HMO Daddy here, what would it say? What would it represent you? What message would you want to give out?
What message?
Yeah.
Well, the message you don't really want to give out too much of is we like to help. So we look upon tenants as friends, and we'll care for them. So I often say no homeless person is ever turned away from J9 accommodation.
Right.
The fact they haven't got the money doesn't stop them being housed. Yeah. The problem is if you'll be abused left, right, and centre. Right. It's what I say is I never evict someone because they can't pay the rent. Right. If they've got genuine reason not being able to pay the rent, I won't evict them. But I hardly come across anyone like this. I've evicted thousands over the years. Okay. I've done 350 evictions through the courts now with 100% success. Right. So you want to learn how to do that. I've written a manual on it, showing other people how to do it, the DIY eviction. It's the only one that's available. Right. And it works 100%. But I care for people. I was homeless because I was brought up in a kids' home. We got kicked out at the great age of 16. And not having anywhere to stay is something that stuck with me. So I've tried to do things the best I can. Okay. But most of the people who don't pay the rent, most people who've got no money, there's a reason for it. Okay. And it's not because they're homeless. They abuse what they've taken. Right. So you've got to be very careful about that. But I don't mind being abused. I feel that St. Peter might give me some credit, when you knock on the pearly gates. Okay. And say, no homeless person was taken away. I do what I feel is right, even though I know most of the time it's going to not work out. But I've done the best I can. Okay, so generally, so what would that message be? Say, then I can help with that. Yeah, we'll help all we can. Okay. And tenants have problems, we help them, not cause problems. I mean, this whole idea of what they call retaliatory eviction. Right. The retaliatory eviction really is the tenant is a troublesome tenant, and you want rid of them. Right. Not the fact that they're complaining. If they've got something wrong and they do it, and they say to you, "Can you fix this?" Of course, we're going to fix it. Okay. What's the worst piece of advice you see or hear in property, in your area of expertise? Oh, the worst piece of advice. There's so much bollocks talked in this business. Right. As you know, work on your business, not in your business. Right. That's absolute rubbish. You can't work on. You've got to do it. Yeah. I've got to micromanage it, especially at the start. Yeah. HMOs property doesn't work unless you do it yourself. Yeah. You're not charging your labour. This idea, you get a property, you get a letting agent to manage it. It can do. You've got to be. It is very difficult to make that work. Generally, to be successful, you've got to do it. And it seems insane. These people want to be. They say they want to be landlords, but don't want to look after tenants. It's a bit like I want to be a footballer, but I don't want to kick a football about. I want to teach, but I don't want to deal with kids. Well, it's right. Okay. A very bizarre approach. I can see why lecturers and courses present it, because the thing that puts a lot of people off property is dealing with tenants. Yeah. So they say to you, "Come on my course, we'll show you how to become a landlord without having to be a landlord." But I think the reality is not there. There's probably a lot more bad advice kicking around. I'm just trying to think that is available. Take too much notice of advice. Right. The people who give advice haven't done it half the time. Right. I've got over 150 properties I own myself, a load more I'm dealing with, over 1,000 tenants. I'm not really sure how it works.
Right. Okay.
I mean, yes, that's walk in the dark. And you've got these experts who've got a few properties and they're telling everyone how to do it. They don't know it. No one really knows it. You take what advice you can, think about it through, ask the why behind it. Because a lot of people giving advice now are giving advice which says, pay for my services and give me loads more money for paying for my services. So be very cautious about that. At the end, they will just cover it up and end up saying, "Oh, you've got to get even more paid for advice from my mates who also provide advice." To a certain extent, you've got to think, make your own decisions, listen to what you have, but make your decision, ask the questions. I've often relied on professionals, followed what they've done blindly, and then ended up with in problems. And I think, well, why didn't I ask the why there and think it through yourself?
Okay. Are you a spender or a saver?
I can't spend. I've got this psychological problem. It's a product of my background. I was brought up in relative poverty. There was no waste. You ate everything on your plate, which is a terrible advice because that leads to obesity and all the rest of it. You've got to finish what you have. You use something until it's worn out. You can't throw something away that's productive. And it's a joke when people see me. It's, "Oh, that's a nice suit, Jim." Yeah, one of my tenants left it behind, and people think I'm joking.
I would think that was a joke.
No, it's not a joke. I mean, why would you want to go and buy a suit when you got tenants who a lot of them are very sort of just move light and they just leave everything behind.
Right.
And that's my problem. So I find it very difficult to actually spend stuff. I've never actually bought a new car. The only car I had that was new was one that I got with a business when I sold the business, and it was on lease. But most of the time, up until recently, I thought if I spent more than £500 on a car, it's a waste. Why bother? Because there's so many cheap cars around. You've got all the depreciation. The only way a £500 car can go is up in price. And that is difficult. I've struggled to go on holiday and pay good money for a holiday.
So leads me to the next question. Other than your car or a house, what's the most expensive thing you bought?
Well, the cars are not expensive.
Okay.
The houses are the expensive stuff.
Yeah. Other than those?
No, I don't buy expensive stuff.
Right, okay.
I can't. I've got a psychological barrier against doing that.
Right.
Money has to be used productively.
Okay.
I can't spend it or fritter it.
Right.
So you've got what there, a 10 grand watch on your wrist.
No. This is about 20 years old or 25 years old.
Well, you got a nice designer watch there.
Yeah.
I've taken an interest in watches.
Right.
But if I buy a watch, if it's an expensive one, it'll always be second hand.
Right.
I just don't. But that's my hang up.
Yeah.
We've all got hang ups.
So, Jim, I think we're coming towards the end of the interview. Just for the audience, if they want to get a hold of you, what's the best place? I mean, we'll put a link on in the YouTube space as well. What was the best place to get a hold of you?
Just send me an email. I've got a very simple email address, jim@hmodaddy.com. Jim, Jim, at hmodaddy.com. Give me an email. I generally reply to most of them within about 24 hours. We'll talk. I'd say we run courses, mentorships, wrote a lot of books. If you've got any questions, I've got a series called 101 Questions and Answers on HMOs. Right. I've covered virtually every question I've been asked. So I'm going to have to think about that one about an animal as a question.
We put that on the link at the bottom. So we've come to the end of the interview, so please share and like this video, and if there's someone else you want me to interview, let me know as well. For the moment, I want to say thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Great pleasure.
Okay, cheers.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Best of luck out there.
Okay, thank you.